Why explore China governance model versus democracy is a must. Explore China governance model versus democracy, comparing grassroots elections, long-term planning, and global influence. Introduction. Why the comparison matters now. A global shift in political influence is underway. According to a recent study by a Danish think tank, 79% of surveyed countries now view China more favorably than the United States. This finding challenges many Western assumptions about governance and raises an important question. Why is the China governance model gaining ground in global opinion? Source. Map shows countries that prefer China to the US. In the debate to explore China governance model versus democracy, one fact stands out. While the United States and other democracies rely on frequent elections and competing political parties, the governance model of China emphasizes long-term strategic planning, grassroots to top leadership elections, and measurable outcomes. This comparison of the China governance model versus democracy reveals deep contrasts in priorities and results. Understanding these differences, without the filter of partisan or biased media, is essential for anyone concerned about the future of global governance. Democracy, principles and practice. 1. Core features of Western democracy. At its heart, Western democracy is built on multi-party elections where citizens choose between competing political platforms, separation of powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, civil liberties such as freedom of speech, press, assembly, and religion, but with significant limitations in practice. While these rights exist in law, their application can be inconsistent. Whistleblowers exposing government wrongdoing are often prosecuted. Protest rights can be curtailed, with lawful demonstrations banned or criminalized under broad public order laws. Media integrity is undermined when mainstream outlets and politicians can lie or distort facts without legal consequences. The separation of religion and politics is not always clear-cut, with religious influence persisting in political decision-making in some democracies. These contradictions mean that freedoms on paper may not always translate to freedoms in practice, raising questions about the depth of democratic accountability. 2. Challenges facing modern democracies. Many democracies today are struggling with political gridlock, where competing parties block each other's initiatives, corporate influence, with lobby groups and wealthy donors shaping policy, voter fatigue, as citizens lose faith in the ability of elections to bring meaningful change. In Australia, for example, reform on climate policy has stalled repeatedly due to shifting party priorities and internal factional conflicts. This constant back and forth undermines public trust, a point explored further in Social Justice Australia's political reform articles. This is one of the most significant differences in the China governance model versus democracy, the ability to carry out consistent policy without frequent leadership changes. China's system with Chinese characteristics. 3. One-party rule, long-term planning, and grassroots elections. The China governance model versus democracy debate often begins with the Communist Party of China's role as the nation's central leadership. While Western observers often focus on the one-party aspect, it is less known that representatives are elected from the grassroots up. Citizens vote in village and local district elections. Those elected choose representatives at the next administrative level. This process continues upward through multiple tiers, ultimately selecting delegates to the National People's Congress and influencing top leadership. This tiered approach ensures that leaders have experience at multiple governance levels before reaching national positions. Central to China's governance are 5-year plans, strategic documents outlining national goals across sectors such as healthcare, education, technology, and environmental policy. For example, the 2021 to 2025 plan includes goals to increase average life expectancy and make China the world leader in renewable energy. 4. Whole process people's democracy. A distinctive feature of the China governance model is the consultative process through the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC. The CPPCC is a national advisory body that brings together CPC members, legally recognized smaller political parties, independent representatives, and leaders from business, science, culture, ethnic minority groups, religion, and the Chinese diaspora. Exists at national, provincial, municipal, and county levels, ensuring multi-tiered consultation. Discusses draft laws, regulations, and significant policies before they are finalized. Operates special committees in areas such as economics, education, the environment, and foreign affairs. These committees conduct research, hold hearings, and report findings. Aims to build consensus before legislative or executive action. Monitors the implementation of policies and recommends adjustments based on feedback. Chinese leaders promote this process as a way to make policymaking inclusive and stable without the adversarial nature of party politics seen in Western democracies. Comparing outcomes, where each model excels. 5. Environmental achievements. In the early 2000s, China was infamous for its air pollution. Yet within just over a decade, it became a global leader in renewable energy and environmental reform. Through targeted 5-year plan goals and massive investment in electric vehicles, EVs, solar power, and wind energy, China has significantly reduced air pollution in major cities. In contrast, democracies like Australia and the United States have seen climate policies stall or reverse when governments change, delaying long-term environmental progress. When evaluating environmental progress, the China governance model versus democracy shows a clear advantage for systems capable of sustained long-term planning. 6. Economic and technological leadership. China has moved from being a copycat manufacturer to a global innovation leader. It now dominates EV production, invests heavily in AI and robotics, and is home to globally recognized consumer brands. A major factor in this transformation is that the Chinese government retains significant shareholdings in most of its strategically important industries, including energy, telecommunications, transport, and finance. This allows the state to influence long-term industrial policy, ensure critical sectors align with national priorities, and stabilize industries during economic downturns. Democracies still excel at fostering innovation through open markets and academic freedom, but long-term projects often struggle for funding in systems where priorities shift after each election cycle and governments have little direct influence over corporate strategy. Global perception and influence. 7. Belt and Road Initiative versus Western alliances. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, has connected over 120 countries through infrastructure projects, trade agreements, and investment partnerships. This approach contrasts with Western alliances, which often rely on military cooperation, development aid, and cultural exchange to maintain influence. 8. Soft power shifts. China's cultural exports, ranging from consumer products to technology, are gaining popularity worldwide. Coupled with more open visa policies and a growing tourism sector, Chinese soft power is becoming a match for long-dominant Western influence. However, Western media often underrepresents these developments, creating a perception gap between on-the-ground reality and mainstream reporting. The future: convergence or competition? The coming decades may see democracies adopting elements of long-term strategic planning, China exploring ways to expand freedoms while keeping governance stability, increased hybrid models that combine democratic accountability with centralized coordination. A critical factor in China's stability is public opinion. Research from Harvard University's Ash Center, based on over a decade of surveys, shows that over 90% of Chinese citizens express high satisfaction with their government's performance, citing economic growth, social stability, and improved living standards as core reasons. Whether the future sees convergence or competition, the China governance model versus democracy discussion will remain central to debates about governance efficiency and public trust. This contrasts with declining trust in government in many democracies, including Australia. Frequently asked questions. 1. What is whole process people's democracy? It's the Chinese governance framework combining grassroots elections, consultative policymaking through the CPPCC, and centralized long-term planning. 2. How does the Chinese governance model differ from authoritarianism? It includes structured participation and feedback mechanisms, particularly through the CPPCC and grassroots elections, though it lacks the multi-party competition of Western democracies. 3. Can democracy achieve China-level results without compromising freedoms? Possibly, if democratic systems adopt longer-term planning and reduce corporate influence in policymaking. Final thoughts: learning from both systems. The effort to explore China governance model versus democracy is not about choosing one over the other. It's about understanding what works, what doesn't, and how systems can evolve. Democracies can learn from China's long-term strategic planning, while China can benefit from expanding certain political freedoms. The future may belong to countries that successfully blend stability, inclusiveness, and results-driven governance, lessons that are at the heart of the China governance model versus democracy debate. What's your experience? Which system do you think better serves its citizens, Western democracy or the China governance model? Share your perspective in the comments below. Call to action. We'd love to hear from you. Inspired by this article? See what others are saying on our reader testimonials page. Please share your thoughts via our reader feedback form. Your voice helps shape future content. Scroll down and leave a comment below to join the discussion. If this article resonated with you, explore more on political reform and Australia's monetary sovereignty at Social Justice Australia. Spread the word. Please share this article with friends, family, or your social networks to keep the conversation going and help build a fairer, more just Australia. Email this to 3 friends who care about social justice and a fair go for all citizens. Keep independent journalism alive. Support voices that challenge the status quo. We are 100% reader-supported, no ads, no corporate strings, just honest, truth-driven journalism. If our work informs or inspires you, please chip in. Donate now, one time or monthly. Even $5 helps us keep publishing. Together, we are making change possible. Already donated? Share the love by leaving us a quick review on Google to help others find us. Engaging question. What's the first public investment you'd fund with Australia's dollar sovereignty? Housing, health, education, or green energy? References. ash.harvard.edu, Understanding CCP Resilience, Surveying Chinese Public Opinion. Gov.cn, the 14th Five-Year Plan, 2021 to 2025. YouTube, I went back to China in 2025. Everything has changed. Difference between China's governance and democracy. China governance model versus democracy. Democracy. Democracy in China. More about China, Chinese laws and myths.